there's a scene involving the KKK. So can you talk about those cultural political clashes?
Yeah, well, we were very, it's, again, Marcia and I and our friends were very politically engaged, and the state, which was a pure, believe it or not, West Virginia was a blue state when we lived there, even though the culture wars were beginning. In 1973, there was the Great Book War, right, where they were trying to ban books from the school curriculum.
Mm.
The Great Textbook War.
The Great Textbook War. So it was all certainly beginning to happen, and we talk about that in the podcast as well, how the state began to change. But the KKK came to town for a conference outside of Morgantown, and should I tell the story of the Marcia and another friend of ours just couldn't stand the idea that the KKK was just there, and outside the campground they had this huge cross erected. And so Marcia and our friend Michelle drove out there in this little Volkswagen with a couple of thermoses of supposedly coffee. And Marcia looked very Jewish, but Michelle was a 6'2", blonde, blue-eyed woman who, as she says, it always terrified her that she looked like she fit right in that environment. But they go into this campground where they're all camped out, and kids are doing target practice with the targets. There's 3 targets: a homosexual and a black person with big lips, and I don't even
a Jewish person,
and a Jewish person with payas.
Yeah.
And these little kids with toy guns doing target practice. So Marcia and Michelle start walking around with their thermos and offering the adults coffee, because it's a cold, rainy night there. And they explain to the people they give the coffee to that they shouldn't give it to any of the children because there was alcohol in it. It was like mixed with some whiskey or something.
But it was spiked. It was spiked with LSD.
So they got this whole campground high on LSD, and then snuck out and pulled down the cross and dragged it off with their Volkswagen, and the campground broke up, but 2 days early. So they were very proud of themselves.
Everything was about politics. I mean, that's how I felt growing up. I mean, there were the drugs, and there was the communal living, but for my parents and their friends, it was all political. I mean, they were in political plays. Marcia held political benefits. We lived communally. We went to every march in Washington. My mom's been arrested for civil disobedience. I don't know how many times. I mean, everything was about the politics.